everyone in life, no, like I'm sure there are exceptions, but I am willing to bet money that everyone in life, when you sit down with them, no matter what they're doing, they think they're doing the right thing.
Hey, I'm Gemma, host of I Don't Know What We're Talking About and the person behind Gemma Watches Stuff. Here's how this show works: one guest, five topics, one surprise selection, and absolutely no script. Just pure, fun, chaotic conversation. This episode, I'm hanging out with Mynor Luken, actor and part of the Star Trek Strange New Worlds universe. We talked about upbringing, trauma, and personal growth. And of course, we got delightfully lost in a few deep space tangents along the way. Let's jump in. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I don't know what we're talking about. The podcast where we have no plan, no structure, it's all chaos, there's no script. We're just out here winging it, having a good time. And today, joining me on the show, I have Mynor Luken. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and have a bit of a chaotic chat with me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Of course.
Um, the way this podcast works is we've been DMing, sending some emails back and forward, trying to get everything locked in, and I gave you some instructions of
Mm.
five topics, anything that you could comfortably talk about for about 45 minutes to an hour, and you hit me back with five very unique, very different, very broad topics, and you have no idea which one we're going to be talking about today.
I do not, and I'm nervous.
No, don't be nervous. It's okay, I promise. Do you? I get a lot of guests that are like, "Oh, I can't even remember what I sent you." Do you remember any of the five? Do you remember anything you sent me?
No, and the reason for that is because since when in Rome, if since we're gonna do it like this, I wanted to forget what it is that I sent you. So I'm like extra surprised, you know? I know that I sent, uh, well, I don't want to say them because that defeats the whole purpose, but I think I remember two clearly and for sure, and then the rest I'm a little iffy about. So the answer is no. I'm rambling, yeah.
No, no, no. Rambling is good. We like rambling here. We're all for the chaos here, and I love the fact that you specifically like. You know what? I'm going to try to forget because we're going
Yeah.
we're fully leaning into the chaos of this episode. It's fantastic.
Okay.
So
Yes.
I think we're going to be a bit ambitious today. I think we'll try and get through two of your topics because like I said, they were broad. They were great.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Yeah, let's do it.
we're gonna be a bit ambitious today. We're gonna try and power through too. But the first one I wanted to dig into and see where this goes because honestly, this could sort of go anywhere. Um, the topic you sent: craziest religious trauma moment.
Okay, that's one of the ones that I remembered, and I was hoping you would choose that one because it's
Okay, great.
great.
Ah, there we go. Perfect. Meant to be then.
Yes, it is.
Take it. I don't know where to go from there. Take it away. What's the context behind that?
Yes, the context behind that was that okay, so like when you first sent me the prompt and I thought it was so brilliant and so like different, you know? Because so like I think I was just talking about this with someone else actually that like back in the day when you had well there were podcasts back then, but like when you had an interview or someone was chatting on TV or whatever, you could tell that people were genuinely just interested and they were like having deep and thoughtful conversations, right? And that was really cool. And I think the art of that has gotten lost in my opinion. And so when you sent me the prompt for your show, I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. But then that made me think, okay, well, I better have some like cool topics. In fact, I have made a list before, and like one was like art. And it's like, okay, but you know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, what's something crazy that's like borderline, like we shouldn't talk about? And so that one came to mind because um I feel like trauma is a word that gets tossed around quite a lot nowadays, you know? And there are things that truly deserve to be named and called as such. And I think religion can be something that, you know, some people really do live with a traumatic experience. Mine wasn't as much as trauma as it was oh yeah, this is definitely not working for me. I have to find something different or a different route to approach I guess the good cause that this represents, you know? Uh so the one that I was thinking in particular, um wait, my God, way to start this show. All right, so my parents got divorced when I was 7, and so yay, happy topics. And so my mom uh instead of taking the route of sort of like drinking and like, substances and whatever, she had a friend who kept and kept and kept talking to her about this mega church that she used to go to. And she was like, "No, you should come because it changed my life and it helped me so much and blah blah blah." And my mom came from a very Catholic family, like rosary praying and all that, like the real deal. And she was like, "No, like, miss me with that." Um, and she was like, "No, no, no, come, you like it." And then my mom told her, "I'll go with you if you shut up, if you leave me alone." And so she went, and they got her. They got her. And so she and so she changed. It changed her life. And so she became a fanatic for a very long time. And if my mom ever listens to this, there's nothing here that we haven't talked about, and so I'm not dissing her at all. Now she doesn't even go to church anymore. Now she's very into, like, she meditates a lot. She reads a lot of philosophy. She's a therapist, so I guess in a way it was good that she went through that, because if she were to have a patient whose approach is more of a religious one, that she can go through that and go into that. But so what happened was that I must have been about 9 years old, and she started to force both my sister and I to go to this mega church. And at this mega church, I'm not going to name any names or any people or anything, but at this church, I would see people coming with oh, I should preface this by saying that my formative years I spent in Guatemala. So I was when I was 9, I was living in Guatemala. Born in Chicago, moved to Guatemala when I was about 2, came back when I was like 13 or so. I always forget the timeline, but this was in Guatemala, so very poor people, just third world country and all. And I remember seeing people getting off buses with, you could just tell how much they were struggling, and how much how hard they worked just to have a couple of pennies to their names and to feed their families. And some of them even worked outside the mega church, just selling like sodas and stuff like that to people going in so they could then go into the church. And I saw all these people. The mega church was separated into the adults temple and the kids temple. Oftentimes we would go to the adult temple with my mom, and I would see these people giving the little money they had, like just like the little coins, literally, and just throw them in those baskets. And then I would see the pastor. Back then there were those remember the big Hummers, like the ones that look military, in a Hummer, and like 3 SUVs following him. He had a jet. He had like multiple properties. And I always thought, man, that, like, is that really what this is all about? Like, I just, and my mom would give her tithe and her offerings, but these people were so into it. They would just do it with all conviction. And I guess there's beauty behind that. You know what I mean? Like, because if you're that convicted, and you believe in something that strongly, then my goodness, do you know what I mean? But for me, it was always just very, very interesting, and quite sad. But my weird experience came from one time we went to the kids' church, and it was this new pastor. He must have been late 20s. Um, and it was one of those churches that, like, you would go up like by the altar and everybody would put their hands up, and like the pastor would touch her forehead, and people would just fall back and like shake and laugh. It was like the real deal. And I remember after song and worship was over, I remember him, like, just not joking whatsoever. Like, this man was dead serious, saying how the point of tithes and offerings is for you to be saved. And if you, as a child, don't give tithes and offerings, you are going to hell. And I remember thinking, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about? And my sister and I were like the black sheep in the church anyway, because like I guess because my mom sort of dragged us to it, we really didn't want anything to do with it. So oftentimes we wouldn't stand up. We would laugh, which maybe we shouldn't have. Um, but so when that man said that, I remember thinking, "Oh my goodness, man!" And some kids believe that. Some kids believe that. Some kids were, "Oh yeah, mom and daddy gave me some money for lunch at school. I'm gonna give 10% of that because God forbid I go to hell." I never believed it, and I don't know why that was. Maybe because of the situation that I had just gone through at home. Maybe I had to like, grow up a little quicker. So I never believed it. It never harmed me. Hence the like the that's why I started by saying that trauma is like a serious word that it shouldn't be tossed around. But I do remember thinking that just I meant trauma because that really changed my view when it came to religion, and this religion happened to be Christianity, and I find Christianity to have some beautiful doctrines and lessons and parables and everything, as every religion does. But I remember just having such a bad taste in my mouth after that day, and to the point where when I was 10 years old, I was like, oh, well, I'm gonna be an atheist. I don't even think I knew what that word meant, but I was like, yeah, no, that's not for me. And so that one was the one that kind of really did get to me. Also, like I would go to groups and stuff like that, like youth groups and stuff, and I would see how like cliques would form, and I was like, well, isn't this supposed to be love for everyone? And like there's cliques here because I never belonged, and so like they would want to play with me. And this is not like a woe is me type of situation, but it was very interesting. I was like, oh, well, isn't the point of this the opposite, So after that, I just, my mom and I had a very rough, uh, I guess, couple of years because of how much we clashed when it came to that. Thankfully, we both outgrew it. Like she's my best pal now, and but that's where that stemmed from for sure.
So much to unpack. I love that you just jump like, oh yeah, I love that you just jumped in. Firstly, I want to say thank you for just jumping in and being so like raw and open and honest about your
Yeah,
experience. I think that's amazing, and you can clearly see when you speak that it was something that was impactful for you, and it's important for you, and it still carries a lot of weight, and it's made you who you are today. And so to be so open and honest about it in a public space, knowing that this podcast is going to go out for the internet, I love that you are so open and honest about it. So thank you. I really appreciate your honesty. Um, Swinging it right back to the start. Um,
yeah,
I also love the fact you got this point. You understood the podcast from the get, like from the start. You were like, yeah, this is it. Because the whole
right,
point, you're absolutely right, 100% was I've seen how a lot of interviews and hosts and things happen now when it comes to interviews, and a lot of the time it's reading questions and you'll answer the question and I'll read another question, you'll answer another question, and that's the interview. And I wanted to create a space for actors or creatives to be able to talk about what they want to talk about rather
Mhm.
than you answering questions that I ask. And so you were absolutely right from the very beginning that the whole point of the podcast is supposed to be something a little bit different, a little bit quirky, a little bit outside the box, in that
Yeah.
you have to
Mhm.
think of the podcast as this is your episode and your chance to talk about whatever you want to talk about, which is why at the very beginning the premise is you sent me 5 topics that you could talk about. And that way it's really your podcast and you get to choose. So I love that this is where we've ended up too. This is fantastic. So like oh man, there's so many different things that we could touch on and dig into here, and it's like where to start. I think
Right,
you explained the situation very well, and especially because they were your formative years. Like you're talking, preteen, 10, 12, like through teenage years. Like that whole experience happened at a time when you were already in a vulnerable position because of your parents getting divorced. Like that's
sure.
already something difficult and painful for a child to have to begin to grapple with and understand, because there's lots of big emotions and things that would have been happening for your mum, and your dad at the time to go through that. And it's something that, children haven't learnt the skills, or shouldn't, don't have the ability yet to process and deal with that level of emotion, and process and deal with what's happening fully, to to the extent that the adults with more formed brains would understand. Your children, we don't as children, we don't yet fully comprehend a lot of those things. And so to go through that in itself already put you in a position of your world is changing. The stability that you've known is now not there. And that
Mhm.
would have been extremely difficult. And I've talked about this before on the podcast, and I'll mention it again here because I feel like it matters. Because, like, pain is pain. Like, what you experience, the minute that we start comparing what we've gone through, especially when you're talking about trauma, and you're totally right, it is a word that gets thrown around a lot, and can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, because everybody may have experienced trauma in a very different way. And you touched on
Exactly.
that, and I 100% agree with you for sure. But I think
Mhm.
that there's value in just acknowledging that pain is pain. And the minute that we start comparing our pain or our problems to other people's problems, oh, but it's okay because they've got it worse than me, like that diminishes your own experience. And I think there's value in taking the time to sit with your experience and go, yeah, it was traumatic, it was painful, and it was difficult, and that's me and my story. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's the I don't want to call it a problem, though in my opinion it very well might be. The problem is that we think in terms of competition all the time, you know? Like we think in those terms, we think in terms of this one's worse or this one's better or this one's heavier or this one's lighter. When I remember I think when that was going on, when my mom was very uh you know religious and this fanaticism that she had. I think I do remember one time, like we maybe we were having dinner or something, and my sister at the time, she didn't eat a lot. She just didn't like eating. And I remember a comment being made about, like, oh, but like, there's children out there starving and that. And I remember, like, everyone's heard that before, everyone's been told that before. But what an unfair thing to use as a comparison or as a lesson. You know what I mean? Because at that point is like to begin with, it's about helping. Like, what can we do to help that situation? But also don't use it as an example for your children, or to compare a situation as mundane as, hey, finish your scrambled eggs, to, hey, there's children in a different country who are literally dying. Um, and so we're always thinking in those terms of, I shouldn't say always, but like, we've come to this point where we compare things just bogusly, like we shouldn't do that. Everybody's experience is unique. And that's the beauty of humanity anyway. Um, your eyes are your own, and you see the world through your own lens, and no one else can see that the way that you do. Your pain and your suffering is yours, and what might be painful for me might be, you know, a matter of comedy for someone else. And that may or may not make it better or worse. Like, for example, like I was watching a documentary on the James Webb Telescope, right? This was like maybe about a year and a half ago, I think, and or something like that. And I was watching this documentary, and there was a point in the documentary when they finally developed it and it was ready to go into orbit, and they were going to launch it. And I remember seeing all these older men, older scientists from all these different countries, who probably were outcasts back in school when they were kids because they were so into science and all these other kids wanted to play sports. And seeing these grown men just crying and hugging each other because they finally achieved one of their biggest goals, it made me cry, right? At the same time, if someone watches that same documentary, for them it might be a little cheesy. It might be a little like it might be a celebratory time. It might be a endearing, like you just never, and this goes well into acting, but if I go down that rabbit hole, we'll get off the rails. But it goes into acting too, because you just can't control your emotions. You can't control what you're gonna feel. And that's the worst thing that you can do to begin with. The best thing you can do is just let things happen. And so what for some people might find a situation more jarring than others. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that commonality doesn't exist or common sense doesn't exist. Like we can all agree that violence to those in a position of I don't know what I'm trying to say.
Like
Violence to those
vulnerability
in a
or
position where,
weakness.
where they
Yeah.
can't defend themselves, that is not okay, and we can all agree to that. We can all agree that wars are bad. You know what I mean? Like we have this commonality, and we have this. I hope we all have this common sense where like there are situations that are just objectively horrible. You know, um, but for some people, like when you begin to compare things and how people feel about certain things, that's when fights start to happen. And then you lose track of what matters, because maybe what you wanted to do to begin with was come to a conclusion, to a common conclusion, so that you could fix a problem. But then you've been thrown off because now you're arguing about like, oh, well, they have it worse, and no, but we have it worse, and so um to each their own, I guess, but I think that there has to be, yeah, just a line that we all share, just something that we all agree with. And then that's why that word is it gets tossed around, and that's neither here nor there. I think the most important part is to your point, is like, okay, cool. If we're gonna toss it around, let's toss it around. It is a word at the end of the day, but let's not have us compare things, and let's not have us, you know, ridicule someone's idea of what that word means. You can disagree all you want, that's fine. But to that person is real.
Yeah.
To that person, it genuinely does feel that way. And that's okay. Like that's fine. So yeah, that's what I think.
You're I agree with you. And you're touching on like I think you're getting to this idea of tolerance. Like you're talking about how there's fundamentals, I would say. Like there's these
Yeah.
fundamental core beliefs that the majority of humanity, not all, because there's always outliers for these things, but there is a core or a fundamental system of beliefs that a majority of humanity have, which is like what you're saying, like we don't physically harm people. We don't, like just the things that majority of humanity can understand that are wrong. And then you've always got outliers, but the majority have these like fundamentals that we all believe in, right? But then
Yeah.
it's the rest of it that gets a bit messy, and here's where it gets blurry because everybody's got different interpretations. And this is talking about religion, but this is also talking about just general worldview of anything,
Mhm.
absolutely anything. Everybody's got different opinions and different views on all sorts of stuff. But what you're getting at and what you're talking about is having tolerance for that. Like in your experience, you might find something like the documentary I think you talked about was a perfect example. Like that is a perfect example to use. And you watched something and it stirred emotions in you that made you cry.
Mhm.
Other people could watch that and experience visually and auditory, they could watch and experience the same thing you did in watching this documentary, but their emotional response to it could be totally different to what your emotional response to it was. And that documentary example you gave was absolutely perfect. But the thing that you also touched on, which I 100% agree with you, I think you've got this, like they're allowed to have that response. Like if their response is, well, that's funny or that's cheesy or that's really lame, I hate that, like they're allowed to hate that. You didn't, and that's okay, but they're also allowed to have that experience as well. And that's where tolerance comes in. You then, knowing that they've had a completely different experience to you watching this documentary, you have to be okay that their experience was totally polar to yours, like totally opposite. And they then in return have to be respectful that your experience was, it made you cry, it stirred emotions in you in that way, but they just thought it was lame and funny. And that's where tolerance and I guess acceptance comes in, where we have to be able to be like, it's okay that you've experienced something in a way that's different to the way that I've experienced it. Except And here's where things get tricky, except when
Yeah,
that experience may be something that goes against those core fundamental beliefs or experiences or worldview, or doesn't have to be religious, but just to whatever your core values, ethics, morals, philosophy, however you want to phrase it, those things that, is how you choose to live your life. When somebody else's experience of something is against these, that's when things get messy.
exactly. But and you already had set the parameters when you, but like before you got to that point, it's like there should be a fundamental, set of ideals and morals that you just don't cross. Like there should be a line where you realize, okay, this is hurting another person. We don't cross that point. Because I'll take it a step further, like, because you said you talk about acceptance. How beautiful would it be if instead of like, uh, Gemma, I like this and that other thing I don't, and then you tell me, oh yeah, Minor, you know what, like, I disagree with you, but that's cool, and we're like, okay, cool, we shake our hand and we continue watching TV. But how cool would it be that instead of saying that and end it there, then I go, okay, how come you don't see it like this? And then you tell me, and then I'm like, oh, that's interesting. You know what? I still don't agree with you, and this is why. And then you keep going back and forth, and that's how you grow, hopefully, you know? But what you're saying, what you're talking about is not crossing a line it's not even blurry. Like you can tell the moment you begin to agitate another human being. You can tell the moment when someone is getting just fundamentally shaken. And at that point it, at that point is when you stop trying to understand. You know what I mean? Because all our experiences are different, and I am never in my life going to understand fully, because I think we all are connected in some weird way. Back to religion, right? That's what I believe in. We all are connected in some way. So we all can empathize, and we all can sympathize, and we all can, like, understand on a surface level what people are going through and what people believe and think and feel. But not to your core. I can never understand what Gemma really feels. I can't. And you vice versa. You can't understand what Minor truly feels. And I think that's what you were talking about is those parameters. It's like, okay, like you're not, it's like the universe, which, if I'm not mistaken, is another topic that I sent you. It's like, it's that question of like, okay, cool. So if this is expanding, what's after that? There are questions that we're just not meant to understand. There are questions that aren't meant to be answered, and because we're limited beings, like we're not gonna understand that. And so I think coming back to what we're talking about, once you hit that line of like, oh, okay, this person is it's gotten to a point where they're fully agitated, where this conversation can no longer continue. So I'm gonna step back, and that's okay. You know what I mean? And then if tomorrow this person comes back and tells me, "Hey, I reacted that way because this and this and that," then we continue talking.
Yes.
But when people, and like when shouting matches begin, like how stupid is that? You know what I mean? Like what are you achieving? You get what I'm saying?
I,
And go ahead, because I'm
no,
rambling. You go ahead.
no, no, I love it. I love it. You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you 100%. And there's this story that I always use and I've heard. I don't know where this comes from. So if anyone watching this knows where this story or they've heard an analogy similar to this or something, help me out because it's definitely not mine. But I've heard this story, and what you touched on is that we don't have capacity to understand. It's like asking a goldfish to climb a tree. Can a goldfish even comprehend what it's being asked to do? Can a goldfish climb a tree? No, of course not. Can a
Yeah,
monkey climb a tree? Absolutely, 100% a monkey can climb a tree. Like, because it has a better awareness, situational awareness, it has deeper understanding, it's something that's in its world, like, that it can comprehend. There aren't exactly, I mean, think of a tree, like, there are no trees underwater, like, a goldfish can't
yeah,
climb a tree. Think of a goldfish in a fish tank. If it's never seen a tree, it doesn't know what a tree is, it can't comprehend, it doesn't
yeah,
have the ability physically either to be able to climb a tree. So
yeah,
when there's things out there that we won't ever be able to understand. And I fully agree with you on that. Some people don't. Some people think that there's nothing beyond our, our scope that we could believe. But for me, I think there are things out there that humans just don't have the capacity or the ability, or what's beyond the beyond. If the universe is constantly expanding, what is it expanding into? How could we ever
Right.
know what that is? It's beyond our capacity to understand. We are the
Yeah.
goldfish trying to imagine how to climb a tree. It just doesn't. It's beyond what we're able to understand. And I 100% agree with you. And I love that you pointed that out. And then the other thing, which I was like, oh no, wait, I have a point, was
Yeah.
when it gets to the point of arguing. And I love what you said about, you go, okay, we need to call it here, because if we continue with this conversation, because let's just use something really silly for an example. I
Sure.
think koalas are super cute. I'm an Australian, you're an American. I
What?
think
What do
koalas
you mean?
are
I
super
hate koalas.
you hate koalas, okay? We're getting really upset about this, okay? And if it gets to the point where we're starting to yell at each other, I care
Yeah.
about you and I respect you. You're a human being. I value your opinion. I care about you. I respect you. We're getting to the point now where we're starting to argue about this, and I can tell that you're getting upset. I can feel within myself that I'm starting to get upset because you just don't think koalas are cute. And like, how could you not? And it's starting to really get to me, okay? What
Yeah.
you've said, to then be like, okay, I still want to respect you, and I still want to care about you as a human being, and I still want to value your opinion because you have an opinion on this, and I want to
Yeah.
know about it, and I want to understand it, and I want to know why you don't think koalas are cute, and I want to know where that comes from. But if we're getting to the point now where our emotions are taking over and we've stepped away from having an intellectual conversation and it's becoming an emotionally fueled conversation, it's not going to help. And we're no longer
Yeah.
going to be able to understand each other intellectually if our emotions are riding. And so, what you've said, to then take a step back, be like, okay, I still want to respect you. I still want to care about you. I still want to have this conversation with you, but I can't do it right now because my emotions are getting the better of me and I need a minute. I need some time. And we take a step back and we both acknowledge that and we walk away. And then if there's opportunity and if there's space to then come back later and be like, yeah, let's finish this conversation because I want to understand your perspective. I've heard it. You don't think they're cute. Okay. You don't like koalas. Okay. I think you're wrong. I think that's dumb, but I want to understand why and how you got to that. That's the key
Yeah.
part in understanding, not only being able to hear somebody else's difference of opinion, but then being able to understand how they got there. And that
Yeah.
part's really hard. And sometimes, like what you suggested, taking some time and then coming back the next day or whatever to then try and re engage with that person to see if it's even feasible to then move forward, I think is super wise, like super smart.
Yeah.
And having the self-awareness to know that you're getting amped up, that you're getting, the emotions are starting to stir within you, and having the self-awareness to go, actually, you know what, wait a minute, I need to pause, I need to take a breather, I need to take a minute, maybe we can come back to this at another time. That's
Yeah.
what I think a lot of people lack. And there's reason, because it's really hard. It's really, really difficult. What we're talking about isn't an easy thing either. It's not super easy, especially if it's a topic that is difficult and multifaceted and complicated and controversial. I mean, we're using koalas as an example, but think about all of the conversations and the things that are happening in the world now, and all these big conversations that are happening all around us on social media. Talk to anybody down the street and there's going to be some controversial topic that you could come up and have a conversation about. But it's
Absolutely.
having that self-awareness and realization to go, okay, I need a minute because this means something for me and it's difficult to have this conversation and I need some time. And
Yeah.
you 100%, I agree with you completely.
Doing like we're about to do a whole like 360 and start right where we were, go back to where we started. So because of that religious trauma, fast forward to when I'm about to move to New York. I'm 25. I'm going through a horrible time because just personal things that are happening in my life. I'm leaving my family. I'm leaving those I love. I'm leaving Chicago behind, and I'm moving to New York where I have nobody, right? No one. And it's COVID because I moved to New York October 1st, 2020. So school was on Zoom. My first year of school was on Zoom. So I had zero community. I had zero people to rely, like I had no one. And what saved me was that I found something that I don't consider a religion, but if a scholar is listening to this, I don't know, maybe enlighten me, but I found Buddhism, which for me is not really a religion. For me is more of a philosophy, like a way of living, if you will. I don't know. Um, but I've never seen Buddhism as a religion. But so I found Buddhism and I began meditating and I began reading and like watching every friggin' video that I could find on it. And the way that I'm um connecting this to what you were saying is that if you ever watch a Buddhist teacher or a monk or anybody with that training, and then again, there are so many like branches in Buddhism, right? But if you find one and you talk to them and the conversation starts to get a little heated, or if like there's a very good and huge argument being made, you will never see these people jump into an answer. Like they just never will. You will always see these people taking it in, taking a second, going like, and then slowly responding to you. But in a world that's so fast paced because of XYZ, whatever, like we can blame it on social media, though social media is such an important and crucial tool nowadays, you know? Like I mean that's what you do, you know what I mean? But in a world where everything is so fast paced, those things don't get exercised anymore. And there's this group here in New York. I'm not trying to plug it or anything, but it's called oh my God. See, I even forgot the name, so who cares? Um uh it's like it's not a meditation group, but they meet here in the Upper East Side, and it's a group of people, and then you just go through philosophy works. You just discuss philosophy and like, but there's also meditation involved in it, and I remember I had this teacher, I forgot his name, but he was a wonderful man, and he talked about that, the power of whenever you feel an impulse, which is very interesting because I'm an actor and all you do is based on impulses. In acting, if you think you're dead, you have to go with your impulse. But in real life, when you feel like you're about to jump on your impulse and it's a hectic one, the power of taking 5 seconds or even a deep breath before taking any action, before spewing any words out of your mouth, the power of that is just it changes your life. It really does. But again, it's funny because when you're acting, that it's the opposite of that. But I believe that if you understand the opposite of something, then you understand the thing. And so it's cool to have both things and being able to exercise both. Not that I do in either form. Like, sometimes in life, if I get excited, if I get mad, if I get sad, I'll ramble and say some stupid things, and then I'll regret them. And then just like in acting, sometimes I'll be doing a scene and then I'll be like, oh man, I was watching myself that entire time. That was trash, you know? So you're never gonna get it perfect. You're never gonna get it right. But the power of exercising that like slight pause, it's incredible. It's life changing.
It's that classic old saying. I mean, I grew up hearing it all the time, and I know that here, like, think before you speak. Think before you
Yeah.
speak. Like that's literally as simple as it is, and it's and when you say it out loud, it seems really obvious. Like it seems really stupid. Like, oh yeah, duh. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
just take a
but
breath
it's
before
not
you say something.
right.
Like, oh, just
Yeah,
think about it before you speak it. And it
right.
sounds so obvious, like everybody's doing it, and like, oh yeah, of course I know how to think before I speak, duh. But it's like, do we though? Like,
Yeah,
do we? Because I as well. I was like, do we though? Do
right.
we
Yeah.
actually always do that? It's so easy to say, and it's something so easy and simple in theory, but in practice, it takes practice. Like it really takes
Yeah,
work
really does.
to develop that within yourself to stop and wait. And I think that's so wise in doing that. And I'm not surprised that there's Buddhist teachings and people out there who have that philosophy that have learned that skill, because it is a skill to sit and wait before you respond. And to be able to do that even in a normal conversation before things get emotional or heated or controversial is
Yeah.
difficult enough. But then to develop that skill and be able to use that skill in a conversation about something that is difficult or painful or controversial or, religious or, social or, any of those areas, to then have that skill and use it when you feel that you're being attacked, or you feel that somebody isn't understanding your viewpoint, when you
Right.
feel all the feelings, basically, when you're there in all of this emotion, to be able to wait, take a minute, take a breath, do whatever you need to do, meditate silently in your head, whatever you do, pray to recenter yourself, whatever that is,
Yeah.
before responding, that's really difficult to do.
And I think, and I genuinely think that again, coming from this religious, this horrible, I shouldn't, I don't know if I should even call it horrible, but this religious experience that I had, like I've never thought that the Bible is a book that's meant to be taken literally, but I genuinely do think that that line, turn your cheek and I'm sorry, I don't know the Bible, but turn the cheek and let him hit whatever it is. That's what they meant. It's not literally like, oh, if you're in a fight with someone, okay, well, punch me again because that's what the Bible says. No, I think genuinely what they meant is that if someone attacks your beliefs, and if someone, at the very least raises this doubt in you by turning the cheek, I believe that all they meant really feel that animosity or that doubt or that anger, feel it and then give your point back. Because if you hit back as soon as they hit you, then you're not allowing your body to process what's happening. And I think your body and your emotions and is just all well connected. So let it go through you, let it run through you, sit with it for seconds, and then respond with that. But if you're not thinking, I think that's what and I'm no expert. Please don't quote me on this, but I genuinely do think that that's what was meant by that.
No, I think you're onto something. I think you've got it. When it's talking about, yeah, to turn the other cheek, I think it's not meaning you lay down and go, yep, okay, you were right, I was wrong, never mind. Like, it's
Right.
not saying that you capitulate. It's not saying that you give up the fight in any means, but rather you you're tolerant, you're accepting, you're going, okay, I'm gonna take on board that that's what you've done, that's what you've approached me with, that's your thought, that's your belief, that's what you've expressed, that's how you've hurt me, whatever it is. It's taking that and going, okay, take a minute, take a breather, take a pause, and then figure out the next move. It's not supposed to be, yeah, the way that that verse I think is used and what you're referring to, I think has sometimes been portrayed poorly, and
Yeah.
used in a lot of awful contexts to allow terrible things. But I think what it really means is exactly what you've said, to allow just space and time before you make your next move, whether or not that's to hit back or accept it or walk away or go, actually, you know what, this isn't worth the conversation, I'm gonna leave
Yeah.
now. Like, whatever it is you need to do, it's to turn the other cheek, is to not take it personally, not take it as an attack, not take it as something so fierce and difficult, but to allow it to sit, allow it to breathe, and then make your move, whether or not that's to fight back or
Hmm.
to respond in a different way, or to not respond at all and silence and walk away, or whatever the situation calls for. I think it's a great interpretation and I like it. It makes a lot of
Thank
sense.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Thank you
makes a lot
so
of sense.
much, Jeff. Thank you.
I think I think we've reached a pretty good pause here. We're about halfway through our time together, so we're gonna play a little bit of a game. We'll mix things up now. How does that sound?
Let's do it. Let's play.
This is called This or That.
This or that, it's time for this or that.
And basically, the way this game works is I've got four different questions for you. Think rapid fire. I'm going to ask you two different things, this or that. It's pretty straightforward. And you have to tell me which one you'd prefer or not prefer, or which is the correct answer, or which one isn't. And then give us a bit as to why you think that way. Sound good?
Okay. Yes, I'm nervous again. Let's do it.
All right, the first one. First one should be pretty easy. Hero or villain?
Hero.
Why?
I think everyone, no matter who you're talking to, no matter who it is, everyone thinks they're a hero in their story. Everyone. So if you well, I'm an actor, so let's talk about movies or TV or characters. If you go up to give me a villain, like your favorite villain.
Let's do Joker. Let's go classic Batman versus Joker.
If you go to the Joker, if you have a conversation with Joker, Joker will tell you and will truly believe that he is doing the right thing. Um, Not to mention, well, that's the character, right? But as an actor, there's no other way to play it. If you as an actor approach a villain thinking they're the villain, then you're setting yourself up for failure. You can still do it. I'm sure you can. But everyone in life, no, like I'm sure there are exceptions, but I am willing to bet money that everyone in life, when you sit down with them, no matter what they're doing, they think they're doing the right thing. So I'm gonna go with hero.
I'm not taking that bet because I agree with you 100%. I think you're absolutely right. I think everybody believes that they are in the right, in the right, really. Yeah, yeah. Unless, like, again, there's always outliers for everything. Like, unless you're
Yeah,
talking
the
about like,
parameters that we were talking about.
yeah, that's right. There's always something on the outside because then you've
Right.
got, then things get messy into the, the sociopaths or the, those that
Yes, like
trying to
within
break
reason, you know
solution
what I
and
mean? Yeah,
outside the
right,
circle or, then we get into weird fictional things. But
right.
yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, question number two for you. Would you prefer movies at home or movies at the cinema?
Oh, okay. I'm cheating, but depends. I'm cheating, depends.
Depends.
Uh, Okay, because cinema, because I support the cinema by giving money, but at home because I'm a homebody and I enjoy watching movies at home. Um, but I would never pirate a movie, so I don't know if that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Yes, and if there's a movie that I truly want to watch, but I don't feel like going to the cinema, I love the fact that I'm saying cinema. I will rent it. I will rent it, which is when it first came out, when it first comes out, it's like $20. So it's the same thing as going to the cinema, but at home. So I'm cheating, but I don't know. I guess it depends. I don't have an answer for that one. But for the most part, at home.
I'll allow it. I won't call it cheating. We'll allow it. We'll allow the split answer. I'll let that slide. That's okay. But I have to ask, why the excitement to say the word cinema? Do you not use like what was that about? Do you not use the word cinema very often?
No, we say let's go to the movies.
Oh
Let's
yeah.
go to the movie
Oh, it could just be. I don't know whether or not that there you go. There's a cultural difference. It might just be an Aussie thing. I mean, look, we say we're going to go to the movies as well, but like, oh, we'll go to the cinema. What's playing? What's on at the cinema? Like,
Yeah, that's I think it's everyone but us. And it's we can digest that and talk about that, but yeah.
which is so funny because basically like 99% of all of our movies are from the US anyway, so that's really funny that you guys are the ones who
Yes,
don't call it
can
cinema.
we pause real quick? Yeah, yeah, that I find it so like annoyingly beautiful that everyone can do a perfect American accent, but we can do other accents because you guys grow up with our cinema. So, you know what I mean? So like yeah, like
Oh, you've touched on. Oh, this is a weird. We're going to take this tangent because I think it's really fun. We're going to go. This
okay,
is
okay, okay, let's do it.
really funny. I think you're absolutely right. And trust me, coming like as an Australian,
Yeah.
everything I see on TV, everything I see in media, every time I open my phone, anytime I look, even billboards, posters, things around me here where I live in Australia is American. Even the food that we have,
Yeah.
like takeout and places like that, it's American. Like I have been to the States once. I've been lucky enough to visit the States once, but I wasn't there for very long and I was a kid, so I don't remember very much about the trip in itself. But the yellow school buses. Everybody knows about the yellow. We don't have the bright yellow school buses. Our buses don't look like that, but we all know what they look like. The yellow taxis. Our taxis are not yellow, but we know the famous
Mm.
yellow taxis that that you see everywhere. We we know some people know just as much about our own culture and our own politics in Australia as we do about the American culture and the American politics because our world is so flooded with it that we know probably some people, maybe even more, would know more about American history, American culture, American politics than we do our own country, some people, just because of how saturated it is here. And
You
another
mean
thing,
Australian people?
yeah,
Australian people
yeah,
know more about
yeah,
our history than Australian history?
probably.
No
I would say
way.
for sure. I would say for sure there are people in my own country who would know more about American culture and American history than they do about Australian culture and history. It's unfortunate
Wow.
and sad, but it's probably very true. I mean, don't get us wrong. Our schools teach our history, and
Right, of course. Sure.
we live in this culture. Australia does have a culture, but we are also a very multicultural country, being where we are in the world, and Europeans first colonized Australia, and we have the indigenous peoples here as well. So, like, we're a big mixing pot of culture here in Australia. I mean, I'm not originally Australian anyway, so like, I'm white, so I'm not originally from my country anyway. But like, that's a whole other topic and a whole other can of worms. But just in how American culture, especially media, movies, television, anything on social media, really, like, is everything that we get. So I feel like Australia is slowly becoming more American all the time, just in how film and television impacts us over here.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, yeah. I didn't know that. That's wow. That's
I mean,
something.
even like when we go, even on clothes, like even buying clothes, like there's graphics on t-shirts,
Sure.
and even sporting teams now, you can go to an Australian shop and go clothes shopping, and there's New York or LA on t-shirts. There's basketball teams, baseball teams, that you can get, that we can't even get on Australian TV. You've got to pay a subscription to a different, platform to get the American sport. But it's so pervasive here. Like, you go to the shops here in Australia and you'll find American sport teams. No other country sporting teams on t-shirts and clothes and stuff, but you'll get American football and American, basketball is huge over here. American basketball is pretty big. Like, you'll get all of that stuff. But I'm guessing it's not the same. It's not like you walk down to your shops and you'll find, Australian cricket, stuff everywhere.
Unless you go to like a specific, like for example, like you go uh to like a soccer store and you buy a soccer jersey, you know what I mean? But it's specific, it's niche. It's not like yeah, it's not like you'll go to like well, I live in New York. It's not like you walk down Times Square and like you'll go to like a gift shop and you'll find like an Aussie shirt, you know? Yeah, that won't happen, yeah.
Yeah, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere here. So it's kind of fun. It's interesting. It makes for interesting dynamic sometimes. We've super diverted, and now we're gonna
Yes,
reel
let's
back
go back
into.
to the game. Yeah.
But it was just really interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm like, I feel like a lot of Americans don't know what, like, how big your culture is here in Australia, and like how much of your culture we've adopted here. And it's
Yeah,
interesting.
that's
And it's interesting. I'm getting distracted. It's interesting. Number three. Let's do number three. Um, lose your wallet or lose your phone.
Oh God. Lose my wallet because I've lost my wallet at least 5 times in the past 2 years. So I think I'm friends with that feeling now.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I lost the last time that I lost my wallet, obviously I lost my license. And so now every time that I go out to like a bar or whatever, I bring my passport with me, which is highly irresponsible and dangerous. But that's where I'm at. So yeah.
We're pretty lucky here, actually, in Australia. Well, not all of Australia. Some states, in Australia, we have digital driver's licenses, so you can have it on an app on your phone.
I love that. What?
They accept that at pubs and clubs and bars and restaurants and things like that, to prove that you're over 18. Oh, it would be 21 for you, but to prove that you're over 18 and can get into certain places or order certain drinks and stuff. In some, not all of Australia, but some states have. Where I live, I'm lucky enough that it's on my phone. So if I ever need to get into anywhere, I can show my ID of my driver's license on my phone, and it's accepted
That's
everywhere.
crazy. Yeah, I'll show you this. Yeah, sometimes like when I go somewhere and like I need to show my ID or they ask me for my ID, I have a picture and so I'll show that. And some people will take it, some be like, sure. Some will be annoyed, but they'll take it. They'll be like, oh, you dumbasses, sure. Some will be like, no. I'll be like, all right, dude, like Thank you. Like, I guess thank you. You're calling me young, so thank you.
You could not get away with that in Australia. You would not be allowed in anywhere with a picture
No?
on your phone.
Oh,
No,
okay.
you
Well,
either have to have the proper app, like the application on your phone that shows
uh,
the ID, because there's like a barcode and stuff on it that they can check and scan and stuff, with
right.
a special code on it, um, or you have to have the physical hard copy. They would not let you in with a photo. I don't know many places that would let you slide with that. So that's really interesting. There you go. Final one for this or that. Final question for you. Always early or fashionably late?
Fashionably late. Fashionably late. How about you?
Ooh, my anxiety sometimes gets the better of me. It depends. I'm gonna cheat for this one too. It depends.
Oh, okay, let's go. Yeah, yeah, one for one.
I am an always early if it's a new event, if I'm meeting somebody new, if I've got an appointment or a booking for something, setting up for the podcast today. I was early. I was on here like 20 minutes early, ready to go. If it's anything that involves technology, because I know technology fails me sometimes and internet dips out and things don't go wrong, I'm always there early.
Right.
But if I'm like catching up with a friend that I know for coffee and we're like, oh yeah, I'll see you, I'll meet you at 10 o'clock in the morning down at the cafe or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll see you then. I'm late. I'm always late. If it's something like that, then I'm always late.
Yeah,
It depends.
that makes sense. Yeah. Well, that's yeah. So then that's a separation of like your day to day and like your job and your livelihood as opposed to social things. And I think for social things, I think you kind of have to be fashionably late, but fashionably,
Yeah,
not disrespectfully.
that's
You know
right.
what I mean?
Fine line. Oh, 100%. There's a fine line between respectfully late and disrespectfully late, for sure.
But I would never, I would never dare. I mean, maybe because I love it too much. Not that I'm a superstar either. But like, I would never dare show up to a set late. You know what I mean? But that's both because that's job and well, I love it too much. So yeah, I get parameters. I think
That's it.
yeah. I think that's our topic today. I think yeah, parameters is our topic.
I love that. I love that a lot. And I think I actually, you've just helped me realize something within myself that I had never realized before. So thank you, because I think that distinction is 100% correct. I think I'm always early and anxious for things if it's job related, business related, side hustle related, like whatever. If it's got to do with presenting myself, yeah, in a way for a job, then they're the things that I get like good anxiety about, like the anxious nerves, excitement anxiety, not like dread anxiety. Got to make that
Yeah,
distinction because anxiety takes different shapes and forms, but like healthy anxiety to like perform or show up for something. I think you're right, and I've never realized that before. I think the things that I'm always like I've got to be early are the things that relate to job and income, something. And the things that I'm like, I'll get there when I get there, or I'm going to be 10 minutes late, or whatever. Oh, quick, I got to hurry up, I'm running late. That's all like social stuff. And I'd never put that together before, but I think you're 100% correct. I think that's what it is. So thank you. That's helpful. I've learnt
I
something.
wonder if it's because when it comes to social things, um, it's for people who like are interested in seeing you and meeting you just because of you, as opposed to for livelihood things, it's an expectation. So maybe that's why, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, true. Makes a lot of sense. There you go. Well, we started today very ambitious. We'll smash out two topics, but we've like barely scratched the surface on your first topic. So we're gonna have to not dig into the second topic. But I'm gonna reveal what it was anyway, because maybe we'll just have to get you on for another episode.
I love that. Yeah. What was the second one?
The second one we were gonna do was your worst audition, how it changed you and what it taught you, because I thought that was really interesting.
Which I think I was cheating because I threw three there, not one,
That was a
right?
lot.
So
It was a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, I was very ambitious, thinking that we could cover like all of that in 1 hour, but I think we've done pretty well just to get through the first one.
we have, yeah.
So
Um, are we, did we run out of the hour?
no, we've got a bit more time left. So, but before I will let you go soon because we are nearly about an hour. But I did want to talk about. We've got to mention your most. I don't know if it's your most recent project, but I think it's what people may recognize you for most at the moment. You had a guest star spot on Star Trek: Strange New Worlds recently.
Yes, I did indeed. Yes.
How was that?
Oh, it was phenomenal. It was yeah, I don't know where to begin. It was it's such an honor to be a part of such a cultural behemoth, you know what I mean? It's so huge. It's a juggernaut and well, for anybody who's not aware of Strange New Worlds is essentially a prequel to the original series. So Spock is young Spock. Nyora Uhura is young Uhura. Um, Captain Kirk is not the captain yet. It's Captain Pike. So this happens like I want to say like just from comparing, because I don't know if this is like specifically said, but just from comparing the way that they look, I want to say that it's like 20, 30 years before the original series from back in the 60s. And so I played you know, a, a character that does not exist in the original series. So it's kind of like Star Wars, right? That they started with the like the later ones and they went back. So I don't exist in the later ones, which is the original. Um, but I love that so much because it just it means that I got to be a part of the foundation of these people's lives. And I got to be the first, if I'm not mistaken, please nobody get mad at me. Uh, I think I was the only recorded romance that Uhura had. And so that's a huge deal. And being a part of that is something that will always be with me. A lot, people responded so well to me. They like that community is so welcoming and so loving. And I guess being new in the industry because I recently graduated from the school that I went to back in 2022. Um, I couldn't have asked for a better, you know, first knock on the door, I guess. Uh, because they've been so supportive and they've been so loving and they've been so accepting and they've been so thought-provoking too. Because I guess you could call it my main episode is a documentary that that I shoot, right? Like it's my documentary, and it asks some heavy questions um about Starfleet, this entity that people have come to love and to support and to dress up as, and have in their bedrooms and their homes. And so when I asked heavy questions and y- you know, I guess deep I guess for lack of a better term, like deep questions, thought-provoking questions, I just loved how people reacted to that. And the reason why I loved it was because there was I couldn't tell you if people liked me more or hated me more during that episode. And I think the point of that episode was just that. The point of that episode was to back to what we were talking about actually in a funny way, I guess. Like, yeah, it's all working out perfectly. That was the point of the episode, to just stir up people's minds and people's ideals and question what they think and if they support this entity because they've been taught to support it or because it's been such a long time that they forgot why they support it, or if you know at some point they go, huh, you know what, maybe I didn't really quite agree with that, and that's okay, but let me find out why, you know so being a part of this cultural huge thing and having raised so many questions and stirred up so many emotions is such a blessing and such an honor, that I'll never forget it. I'll never forget being a part of this. So that
It's
was great.
it's such a huge like cultural phenomenon, and it's embedded so much in media and culture today. Like you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who hadn't heard of Star Trek. Like it's
Right.
just
Yeah.
it's everywhere, and getting to be a part of that, yeah, must have been such an incredible experience. And I love that your episode, in particular, the episode that you're on, and the context that you were just explaining of your role and what that episode sort of gets across is we're talking about a show that's so sci-fi, unrealistic, set years into the future with aliens and crazy things and time travel and like all the rest of it. Like it's Star Trek. It's wild. It's crazy. It's out there. It's fantastic. But the core, and I think the thing that makes Star Trek so impactful for everybody is that the core messages and things that are discussed and challenged every episode are such essential things of humanity and things that we wrestle with every day, which is exactly what you were talking about. Like, your episode with, with talking about Starfleet and how they became part of that movement of that group, and if they just follow it because they've always followed it, or they have questions about it, or maybe they didn't realize everything that Starfleet stood for and all of that thing could quite easily and very quickly be compared to things that are happening not only in America at the moment, but different places across the world, these different things. So I just love that, yeah, Star Trek like that, and everything that you just explained about your episode, how easily that translates to the human condition. Even though it's coming from aliens set in the future in this weird and wacky sci-fi world, it's still so human.
Well, they even asked. There was an interview with one of the writers from that episode, and well, they asked the writer, "Hey, like with this episode, were you trying to mirror our political climate and like the things that are happening?" And I think his answer was genuinely no. But that's good writing right there. Good writing is when you subconsciously process everything that's been happening around you and uh and you're able to let that flow and you just subconsciously put it into your work, you know? And where art, like all good art imitates other good art, you know? And if what we do is a slice of life, or at least we attempt it to be, it's gonna imitate what's happening in real life, you know? And I guess the other beautiful thing about being a part of that show is that it's so varied. Like I got a chance to do two like rom-com episodes, a horror episode, and a documentary. Like, it was so varied, and every director brought their own uniqueness to it, and their own view, and their own take, and their own spin, and everybody was so welcoming. And something crazy happened for that episode of the documentary. When you do TV, uh, you stick to script. Not as much as when you do a play, because with play, the copyright infringement is a thing. Like if I were to add a no, even something as mundane as a no, if the no is not written and the author is sitting in by the audience, they'll that's copyright infringement. So plays are very particular. But TV is very particular as well. Movies not so much. But for that episode in particular, they allowed the director Sharon Lewis and I, uh who I love by the way, she's just a wizard. They allowed us to just we had the script, and because we do floating head type interviews, they allowed us to just go wild, and we just came up with so many questions that we didn't tell the cast that we were going to ask them. And so if you watch that episode, 90% of the questions that made it in and the reactions of the characters, those are all happening right there. Like what you're seeing is probably genuinely the first time that they were asked that question. Uh which is so different for TV. Like that doesn't tend to happen. There's a moment where Sharon, the director, uh that she talks about with this particular character, where the actor himself was actually getting mad because again, you get to a point where you get used to the format of what you're doing, um that when he kept getting thrown off, he was getting pissed about it, and so that reaction was captured, and that's why that episode was just so beautiful. The entire show is just like these people genuinely do care about what their actors bring to the table and what the writers bring to the table, and just what their the creative team brings to the table. It's not a show where like, oh well, finance rules and we'll do what we want. It's a show that puts their creatives uh um uh first, and they support them more than anything, and they talk about important subjects, and they cater to everyone, and it truly was a blessing and an honor to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Paramount Plus, that's where it's at. So if you want to go watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds, check out Mynor in his role over there. Go find it. Paramount Plus. I've got to go watch it. I've I'm nearly up to your, because I think you're in season 3. I want to say
Season 3, yes.
season 3. Okay, I'm midway through season 2. I'm getting there. I'm playing catch up.
Hey,
Like, I'm gonna watch.
nice.
I'm gonna go binge it. We're gonna watch it. So I'm nearly up to where you're up to. So I'm excited to see what your episodes look like, especially even more so now having had opportunity to talk to you. And hopefully, people, if you're watching this podcast and you haven't seen Strange New Worlds, go check it out because it is worth the watch. It is really cool, really fun, and it sounds like you had an absolute blast and an amazing experience being able to work on set there. So that's fantastic.
Thank you, Gemma. Yeah,
If
thank you.
people want to find you and follow you and keep up to date with what other projects and things you've got going on, where can they find you? Social media.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. It's my name. It's Mynor Luken, which is weirdly spelled. So it's MYNOR LUKEN. It's a very weird name, Mynor Luken. Instagram, I have nothing else. No Facebook, no TikTok, sadly. But you can find me there. I'm posting updates there. I am speaking of Star Trek, I am uh doing a movie with Sharon, the director that directed me for that episode, the documentary episode, and we are going into pre-production pretty soon. So I'll be doing um updates on my Instagram page. We're starting a funding campaign just to generate like just initial funding before we go to investors. And so yeah, it's been taking a lot of my time, but it's all going to be posted there on my Instagram.
Awesome. Amazing. Instagram is the place to be. That's where it's at. It's all happening. This episode will come out on YouTube, but you can also catch a whole lot of it on Instagram as well and connect with Mynor there. So that's fantastic. And we have gone over time, but I appreciate you being able to stick around and hang out with me. This has been so much fun. I've had an absolute blast chatting with you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. Seriously, thank you.
And that's it for this episode of I Don't Know What We're Talking About. Huge thanks to Mynor Luken for joining me. This episode was thoughtful and honest and somehow still full of laughter and chaos. And if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow and subscribe wherever you listen. Don't forget, you can get early access and behind the scenes extras over on patreon.com/Gemma Watches Stuff. Now, maybe take this as your gentle reminder to call that friend that you've been meaning to call back. Until then, see you next time.